Listen to me closely, because I am about to save you from making a $60,000 mistake that will haunt you every time you see a reflection of your own poor judgment in a strip mall window. We are currently witnessing something that can only be described as a fratricidal, cannibalistic, corporate stroke of genius, or perhaps a stroke of absolute madness. Coming out of Toyota City, it is a civil war. It is a bloodbath in the dealership lot. It is the Land Cruiser J250 versus the 6th generation 4Runner. And if you think this is just a comparison between two CVs, you are so painfully naive that I almost pity you. This is a battle for the soul of the American off-road enthusiast, a demographic that seems to consist entirely of men who work in it, but dress like they are about to ford a river in the Amazon to deliver vaccines to uncontacted tribes. Let's get the unpleasant facts out of the way first, shall we? These two vehicles are the same damn car. They are twins. They are clones. They are the result of a product planning meeting where everyone got drunk on expensive sake and decided to sell the exact same chassis twice just to see if we were stupid enough to buy it. They share the TNGA platform. They share the same 12.2-inch wheelbase. They share the same 8-speed automatic transmission. In the higher trims, they share the exact same 2.4-liter turbo hybrid engine. They are identical biological siblings separated at birth, where one was sent to a Swiss finishing school to learn how to pronounce croissant correctly, and the other was sent to a dusty garage in Arizona to learn how to weld and drink cheap beer. And yet, despite this mechanical incest, you have to choose one. You cannot have both unless you are a lunatic with too much garage space. And because I am the expert here, and you are the person staring at a screen looking for validation, I am going to tell you the truth. Let us start with the Land Cruiser. I use that name with a sneer because let us be brutally honest with each other. This is a real Land Cruiser. If you are reading this from Australia or the Middle East, you are laughing at us right now. You guys get the 300 series, you get the twin-turbo V6. You get the king of the road. We, the poor, suffering Americans, get the Prado. Toyota didn't call it the Prado here because they know we are simple, brand-obsessed creatures who buy things based on logos and nostalgia. They slapped the Land Cruiser badge on a smaller, lighter, cheaper vehicle and hoped we wouldn't notice that they shortchanged us. Well, I noticed. It's a Prado in a tuxedo. It's Land Cruiser Light. It's the Diet Coke of off-road royalty. It's the vehicle for the guy who wants to tell people he drives a Land Cruiser but secretly worries about fitting into the parking garage at Whole Foods. But, and it physically hurts me to admit this, it is magnificent to look at. The design is a masterclass in weaponized nostalgia. It is retro, pandering at its absolute finest. The boxy silhouette, the upright windshield, the flat hood that looks like you could land a drone on it. It triggers something deep in your lizard brain. It makes you want to buy a waxed canvas jacket and smoke a pipe, even if the only thing you actually smoke is bubblegum, flavored vape juice. The 1958 trim with those round headlights, it's adorable. It's like a puppy that can tow 6,000 pounds. It looks expensive. It looks like old money. It says, I could go to the Rubicon Trail, but I have a reservation at Nobu, and I don't want to get mud on my loafers. It has presence. When you pull up in a J250, people assume you are an architect or a geology professor with a trust fund. It projects an image of competence that you, the driver, almost certainly do not possess. However, we need to address the elephant in the room. Or rather, the hamster in the engine bay. There is no V8. There is no V6. If you lift that massive, flat hood, you will find a 2.4-liter 4-cylinder engine, a 4-banger, in a Land Cruiser. I can hear the purists screaming from here. It's sacrilege. It's an abomination. There is no replacement for displacement. Oh, shut up. Sit down and listen. This is the iForce Max Hybrid. It pumps out 326 horsepower and a massive 465 pounds-ft of torque. Let me be clear. This engine is objectively better than your old, lazy V8. It is faster. It has more torque. It gets better gas mileage. Though better is a relative term when you re-pushing a aerodynamic brick through the wind. Expect 23 mpg if you drive like a nun, and 18 mpg if you drive like me. But here's the problem. It lacks soul. It doesn't roar. It whines. It sounds like a vacuum cleaner fighting a blender. It sounds like a kitchen appliance. When you stomp on the pedal, you don't get a symphonic crescendo of combustion. You get the drone of efficiency. It gets the job done with ruthless competence, but it will never ever give you goosebumps. It's a powertrain designed by a calculator, not a heart. And now, we must discuss the fatal flaw of the Land Cruiser, the thing that makes me want to find the engineer responsible and shake them until their glasses fall off. The interior packaging is a disaster. It is a tragedy. Because this vehicle is exclusively a hybrid in the US, the battery has to go somewhere. And Toyota, in a moment of engineering laziness that is frankly shocking for a company that invented lean manufacturing, decided to just slap it on the cargo floor. The result is a load floor that is absurdly high. You open the trunk, expecting a cavernous space to store your gear, and instead, you find a shelf. You lose inches of vertical space. If you are tall, the load floor is at your waist. Lifting a heavy cooler into the back of a Land Cruiser is now a CrossFit workout. And because of this battery hump, there is no third row. None. You cannot have it. This massive 196-inch-long SUV is a 5-seater. If you have 3 children, you are legally required to buy a minivan or leave one child at the gas station. It is a packaging compromise that betrays the utilitarian roots of the nameplate. It is a Land Cruiser that can barely cruise with land-style cargo, but then you get behind the wheel and you almost forgive it. The Land Cruiser comes standard with full-time 4WD. This is the secret sauce. This is why you pay the extra money. You have a torsion center differential that splits the torque. You can drive on dry pavement, in rain, in snow, on ice, and on dirt, and never touch a single button. The car figures it out. It is effortless. It feels planted. It feels heavy in a good way, like a bank vault on wheels. The steering is light but accurate. It is a luxury car that happens to be able to climb a mountain. It is quiet. It is refined. It is for the person who wants the capability but doesn't want the hassle. It is the gentleman's choice. It is for the person who wears a Patagonia vest to the office not because they are going hiking, but because the office air conditioning is slightly too aggressive. Now, let us turn our gaze to the usurper, the rebel, the blue-collar hero that has suddenly decided to wear a suit and crash the country club. The 6th-generation Toyota 4Runner. For 15 years, 15 long, excruciating years, the previous 4Runner was a dinosaur. It was ancient. It was slow. Its transmission hunted for gears like a blind dog looking for a bone in a dark room. It got 16 miles per gallon going downhill with a tailwind. And yet, we loved it. We bought them by the millions. We modified them. We drove them into the ground. It was the last honest vehicle in America. But now, it has been modernized. And unlike the Land Cruiser, the 4Runner remembers exactly what it is. It is not trying to be a luxury car. It is a tool. And it is angry. The new 4Runner is, in many objective ways, the superior vehicle. Why? Because it gives you choice. The Land Cruiser forces the hybrid down your throat whether you want it or not. Hey, do you want to save some money and skip the complexity? You can buy an SR5 or a TRD Off-Road with a standard, non-hybrid turbo 4-cylinder. It has 278 horsepower. It is lighter. It is simpler. It has a lower cargo floor because there is no battery taking up space. It is cavernous inside. You can throw a muddy dog, a mountain bike, and a week's worth of camping gear in the back. And it swallows it all without complaint. It is practical in a way the Land Cruiser is not. And yes, you can get a third row in the 4Runner. Is it a good third row? Absolutely not. It is a torture chamber for anyone with legs. It is a penalty box for your least favorite child, but it exists. It is an option. If you need to haul the soccer team once a year, you can do it. The Land Cruiser simply says, no, buy a Sequoia, you peasant. But the single greatest feature, the feature that proves God loves 4Runner owners and wants them to be happy, is the rear window. It rolls down. I repeat, the rear window rolls down. If you have never owned a 4Runner, you do not understand the cult of the roll-down window. It is magic. You roll it down and suddenly the entire cabin is airy. The wind flows through without buffeting. Your dog hangs its head out the back, ears flapping in the wind, living its absolute best life. It allows you to carry long items, lumber, surfboards, a rug you bought on impulse at Home Depot, hanging out the back without keeping the hatch open and inhaling exhaust fumes. The Land Cruiser S-Glass just pops up like a minivan from 2005. It is pathetic. It is weak. The 4Runner S roll-down window is a lifestyle. It is a statement that you are ready for anything. Let's talk about the new Trailhunter trim. This is Toyota looking at the aftermarket industry, at the people buying ARB bumpers and old man MU suspensions and saying, we want that money. The Trailhunter is a beast. It comes from the factory with old man MU forged monotube shocks with external remote reservoirs. Do you know what that means? It means you can drive fast. You can bash this thing over desert whoops at 50 miles per HR, and the suspension will eat it up. It is designed for abuse. It is designed for the American West. It has rock rails. It has skid plates that are actually made of steel, not the tinfoil you get on a crossover. It has a snorkel. Sorry. A high mount air intake because lawyers exist, so you can wade through dust clouds. It looks tougher than the Land Cruiser. It is tougher than the Land Cruiser. It is the vehicular equivalent of a bearded man chopping wood. But the 4Runner has a flaw too, and it is the interior. It suffers from what I call Tacoma syndrome. It feels like a truck. The plastics are hard, they are scratchy. The dashboard is a wall of angular masculine plastic that screams, "I am a manly truck" at you. It lacks the refinement of the Land Cruiser. The screens are massive, 14 inches of glowing pixels, but they feel slapped onto the dash like an afterthought. The Land Cruiser integrates its tech with a bit more grace. In the 4Runner, you feel like you can hose out the interior. Please don't actually do that. You will fry the electronics and void your warranty, but it feels like you could. It is utilitarian to a fault. So, we have the face-off. The Civil War. Let's look at the off-road numbers, because numbers don't care about your feelings or your brand loyalty. The Land Cruiser has an approach angle of 31 degrees. The 4Runner has an approach angle of 32 degrees. The Land Cruiser has 8.7 inches of ground clearance. The 4Runner has 9.2 inches of ground clearance. Read that again. The inferior 4Runner has better clearance and better angles. Why? Because the Land Cruiser is obsessed with looking premium. Its front bumper hangs lower to hide the suspension bits, to look aerodynamic and sleek. The 4Runner, especially in TRD Pro or Trailhunter trim, is cut high. It shows off its tires. It doesn't care about aerodynamics. It cares about not smashing its face into a rock. If you actually go off-road, and I mean real trails, not just the gravel driveway to your Airbnb in Joshua Tree, the 4Runner is the superior machine. It is less likely to scrape. It is more likely to get you home without leaving pieces of plastic on the trail. And here is the technical nuance that separates the men from the boys, the suspension philosophy. The Land Cruiser and the higher trim 4Runners comes with a fancy feature called the Stabilizer Disconnect Mechanism, SDM. You push a button and the front sway bar disconnects. This allows the front wheels to drop further, to articulate more. It keeps your tires on the ground when you are crawling over big rocks at 1 mile per HR. It is a rock crawling feature. The 4Runner Trailhunter, however, prioritizes those old man MU shocks. It prioritizes high-speed damping. The Land Cruiser is built for articulation at low speeds. The 4Runner Trailhunter is built for velocity and durability. If you are an American, let's be honest, you want to go fast. You want to blast down a fire road. You want to feel like a Baja racer. The 4Runner is tuned for that. The Land Cruiser is tuned for a slow, methodical, gentlemanly crawl. The Land Cruiser is a scalpel. The 4Runner is a hammer. And in the off-road world, a hammer is usually more useful. Now, let's talk about the drivetrain system again, because this is where the Land Cruiser claws back some dignity. Most 4Runners are part-time 4WD. This means that 90% of the time you are driving a rear-wheel drive vehicle. If it rains, the rear end might slip. If you hit a patch of ice, you might slide. You have to manually reach down and shift into 4WD high. It requires engagement. It requires you to know what you are doing. The Land Cruiser, as full-time 4WD, is idiot-proof. It is always on. It is safer for your spouse who doesn't care about differentials. It is safer for your teenage driver who is probably looking at TikTok instead of the road. It is safer for you when you are tired and distracted. It distributes power to all 4 wheels constantly. For a daily driver in a snowy state, the Land Cruiser is objectively better. Yes, you can get full-time 4WD on the 4Runner Platinum, but then you are paying Land Cruiser money anyway. Speaking of money, let's have a laugh at the pricing, because this is where Toyota is gaslighting us. A base Land Cruiser 1958 costs about $57,000. For that money, you get cloth seats that feel like they came from a 1990 Corolla. You get a tiny screen, you get cheap-looking plastic trim. You are paying $57,000 for round headlights and a badge. It is a ripoff. It is a joke. For $53,000, you can get a 4Runner TRD Off-Road Premium. It has synthetic leather Softex, it has heated seats, it has the big screen, it has a locking rear differential, it has the roll-down window. It is better equipped, more capable, and cheaper. Then you go up to the mid-trim Land Cruiser, which is around $63,000. This is the one you actually want. It has the nice seats, the sway bar disconnect, the cool rectangular lights. But for $62,000, you can get a 4Runner Platinum. This thing has a heads-up display. It has heated second-row seats. The Land Cruiser doesn't have that. It is rain-sensing wipers. It is luxury features that the Land Cruiser lacks. It is a paradox. At the top end, the 4Runner is more luxurious than the Land Cruiser. The hierarchy is broken. The world is upside down. Cats are living with dogs. It makes no sense. So, who wins? Which one should you actually put your hard-earned depreciating fiat currency into? If I am spending my own money, and I am notoriously cheap despite my expensive taste, I am buying the Toyota 4Runner. Without hesitation, here is why. The Land Cruiser J250 is having an identity crisis. It is trying to be too many things at once. It is too expensive to be a beater, but the interior materials are too cheap to be a true luxury car compared to a BMW or a Mercedes. It is compromised by the hybrid battery hump. It has less cargo space. It has less ground clearance. You are paying a $5,000 to $10,000. Cool tax just for the name Land Cruiser. The 4Runner is honest. It knows what it is. It embraces the truck platform. It gives you the roll-down window, which brings joy to your life every single day. It gives you the option of a simple, non-hybrid engine that will likely last 300,000 miles with zero issues because there are no batteries to degrade. And if you get the Trailhunter, you have a vehicle that is genuinely ready for the apocalypse right off the lot. It looks meaner. It acts meaner. It is the superior American spec, however. And there is always a however. If you never plan to touch dirt, if your idea of off-road is the grass parking lot at your kid's soccer tournament, if you wear a Patagonia vest to the office and want to project an image of approachable wealth, then buy the Land Cruiser. There is no shame in it. It is the better road car. It is quieter. The suspension is softer and more compliant over potholes. The full-time 4WD will save your butt when you are texting and driving on a rainy highway. It has that cool box in the center console that keeps your drinks cold, which is a gimmick, but a delightful one. It turns heads. People look at the Land Cruiser and think, that guy has taste. People look at the 4Runner and think, that guy has a kayak and probably smells like campfire smoke. Social status matters, aesthetics matter. The Land Cruiser is a beautiful object. The 4Runner is a busy, angular robot. But let's get real for a second. The Land Cruiser nameplate used to mean World Conqueror. It used to mean the car that lasts longer than civilization. This new J250, it's a great SUV, but it feels like a marketing exercise. It feels like Toyota held back. They held back the V6, they held back the third row, they held back the locker space. They crippled it slightly so it wouldn't kill the Lexus GX 550 sales. The 4Runner, on the other hand, feels like they went all out. They threw everything at it. They gave it the sway bar disconnect, and the lockers, and the hybrid, and the turbo, and the Trailhunter bits. They didn't hold back because the 4Runner is their golden goose in America. They could afford to mess it up, and they didn't. So, here is the verdict from the sharpest mind in the business. Me. Buy the Land Cruiser if you care about how you look. It is a fashion accessory that is capable of climbing a mountain. But you won't ever do it. It's for the vibe. It is for the aesthetic. Buy the 4Runner if you care about what you do. It is a tool. It is for the person who actually owns a shovel and knows how to use it. It is for the person who packs the car with muddy gear, wet dogs, and screaming kids. It is the better SUV because it prioritizes utility over vanity. And if you are still undecided, just buy a used 200 series Land Cruiser with a V8 for the same price and laugh at all of us peasants with our 4-cylinder hybrids. But that's a story for another day. For now, the 4Runner wins the Civil War. It is the usurper that took the crown. Long live the king. Wait, I am not done. I need to hammer this home because I know you people. You sitting there thinking, but the Land Cruiser has the heritage. What heritage? The heritage of the Prado. In Europe, the Prado is a farm vehicle. It's what plumbers drive. In America, we treat it like a Range Rover. It's a collective delusion. The 4Runner is an American icon. It was born here, spiritually. It lives here. It dominates here. The 4Runner has more heritage on American trails than the Prado ever will. Go to Moab, Go to the Rubicon. What do you see? You see 4Runners. You don't TC Prados unless they are lost tourists. And let's talk about the first edition Land Cruiser. You know, the one with the round headlights that cost $75,000 because of dealer adjustments. If you buy that, you are the problem. You are why we can have nice things. You are paying Porsche Cayenne money for a Toyota with cloth seats and a 4-cylinder engine. It is madness. The 4Runner TRD Pro is going to be marked up too, I'm sure. But at least you get Fox shocks and those ridiculous isodynamic seats with the shock absorbers built into the backrest. Have you seen those? They look like something out of a sci-fi torture chamber, but they actually work. They stabilize your head when you re-bouncing around. The Land Cruiser gives you leatherette. Whoopee! Also, color. The Land Cruiser comes in Meteor Shower and Heritage Blue. Very tasteful, very subdued. The 4Runner comes in Mudbath and Everest and probably Radioactive Vomit Green eventually. It's fun. Cars should be fun. The Land Cruiser takes itself so seriously. It's the guy at the party who won T-Dance because he's afraid of looking silly. The 4Runner is doing a keg stand in the corner. I know which one I'd rather hang out with. One final technical point for the nerds who are still reading this manifesto: the inverter. Both cars have AC outlets in the back, but the Land Cruiser S inverter is wimpy in the lower trims. The 4Runner, specifically the hybrids, gives you a 2400W inverter. You can run a microwave, you can run a power drill, you can run a small house, you can tailgate and power a margarita blender. That is critical utility. That is what separates a lifestyle vehicle from a life support vehicle. So, to summarize in the simplest terms possible, the Land Cruiser is a blazer. The 4Runner is a flannel shirt. The Land Cruiser is a craft cocktail. The 4Runner is a beer. The Land Cruiser is LinkedIn. The 4Runner is Instagram. The Land Cruiser is for your boss. The 4Runner is for you. Don T, be a sucker. Don T, buy the badge. Buy the car, and the better car, the more complete car, the more American car is the Toyota 4Runner. I have spoken. You may now return to your miserable lives of driving crossovers. Or you can go to the Toyota dealership and demand a 4Runner Trailhunter and actually feel something for once in your life. The choice is yours. But if I see you in a Land Cruiser 1958 with the cloth seats and the blank switch panels, I will laugh, and I will point, and I will roll down my rear window so you can hear me laughing.